I want you to meet Bonnie. Now, this is Bonnie. Bonnie reached out to me and she's concerned that she's having or making some mistakes with her hair. And she asked me what my opinion was. So what we're gonna do in this video is pretty simple. We're gonna go through some concerns that I'm seeing that she could easily shift and therefore get a little bit more of a youthful appearance. But before we jump into that, this whole series, if you're new to this whole series is really about empowering you. It's about teaching you how to look at your face shape, how to figure out your lifestyle and your day-to-day routine, and then determine, based on those things, what style or shape would look great on you. And so, with that said, if you're not new to this, I want you to do something for me. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna read the email that Bonnie sent me. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at the photos I'm about to throw on the screen here, and I want you to listen to the email as I'm reading it, and then, this is the important part, so don't miss this, comment below and tell me what you would suggest for Bonnie, okay? Now, I don't want you to tell me what you think I would say. I want you to tell me what you think you would do. This is how we're gonna know if what I'm doing here is actually making any sense and if you're learning anything. Sound like a plan? Okay, now with that said, let's read the email. Here are my photos for submission. I added extra photos of how my hair was over the past year. As you can see, I have gone shorter and darker. I just wanted to try something different. The last time I had her just put low lights in, and I'm thinking maybe I need highlights again. I've worn my hair the same way for years, bangs and shoulder length or down to my waist. I just wanted to look different. My husband isn't crazy about it being short, but I like it short. I'm up for any suggestions you have. I really appreciate all that you do in trying to help women look the best they can. Well, thank you, Bonnie. And before I move into the mistakes, I want to throw in one quick little thing here. And I have to be honest, I don't know that this is what Bonnie's situation looks like, but I see this in the salon all the time. So I wanted to throw it out to you. If you are in a situation where you have a husband or a man in your life that does want your hair to be a certain way, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to pause the video right now. I want you to go get that husband or that man, and I want you to bring them back out so that they can watch this one part of this video. All right, so go do that now, and then we're gonna have a talk. Fellas, now you don't know me, but my name is Justin Hickox, and I've been doing hair for the last 26 years, and I've grown up around hair salons. So over the past, my entire life, I have worked and been around a lot of women. Hundreds and hundreds of women. And there is one thing that I have learned, and I definitely don't claim to know much, but I do know this. First of all, let me introduce you to my wife. This is Deanna. Now, I'll be very honest with you. When I first met Deanna online, first saw her photos, it wasn't her personality that attracted me to her. It was, well, let's be honest, this is Deanna. But I'll tell you something, that quickly kind of took a back seat to the much more important stuff, like the way she laughs and her personality and her love of life and the way that she just goes after anything she wants with a lack of desire or concern of failure whatsoever. It's impressive. And the one thing that I have always tried to do with Deanna in our relationship is build as much confidence as I can in her. Now, here's where it's really important, so I want you to listen very close. The more confident that your wife or your girlfriend or the lady in your life or Deanna is, the less anxiety they have, the more happy they are, the more zest for life they have. Overall, the sexier they are. And to be very honest, the easier they are on both you and me. So let me just tell you this one thing, and I want you to really take this to heart. The next time you are thinking about telling your wife or pushing her in a specific direction based on what you think would look good on her, do yourself a favor. Turn that situation around and ask her, babe, what do you feel the best in? I promise you, you will thank me later. So just do that. Sound good? Okay. Now, ladies, if you agree with that, yes below. Throw me some little love right there, because let's be honest, it's the truth, right?
That's right, babe. Proud of you.
There you go.
All right. Now, let's get to some mistakes. Okay, so the first mistake is that the length right above the chin is actually adding a bit too much width and really kind of drawing the eye down and taking too much emphasis off of Bonnie's actual cheek bones. It's just kind of adding more fullness to her cheeks. Okay, now mistake number 2 is that if you look at the profile here, the back is just a little bit too long. Now, I say this all the time, and the fact of the matter is, if we're talking about bob shapes and keeping them in the most kind of timeless version of themselves and paying attention to a line that is going to be the most flattering for 99% of people, then we're talking about a line that follows the lines in the face. And therefore, a little bit shorter in the back is going to help accentuate more cheekbone structure and lift the eye up. Whereas right now, with that line a little bit longer in the back, it's actually bringing the eye and the shape down. Okay, now mistake number 3 is all about the, lack of layering. There's not a lot of layering in this shape, and what that's causing is just a lot of fullness at the very bottom of it. Again, it kind of brings it into that triangular shape that I talk about a lot. Now, if we were to actually layer this a little bit, she would not just get more volume, but she would get more volume in the right areas. She'd be able to alleviate some of the bulk out of the sides, which would help encourage the illusion of more volume in the top and kind of around the temples where we want to see more volume to accentuate things like her cheekbone structure and just overall lift the eye up. Okay, and now mistake number 4 deals with her bangs. Now, I don't think that bangs are a bad idea on Bonnie. I just think that these particular bangs are a bit closing and square for her. Bangs aren't a bad idea, but we'll talk more in a second about exactly what kind of bangs I would personally suggest. And so, let's go ahead and take a look at exactly what these suggestions would look like if Bonnie decided to take them. But before we do that, can we talk about this incredible, ridiculous view? Do you know where we are? You know? Where are we, babe? Yes, we are in Ireland, or where else could we be?
Scotland?
Scotland, yes. One of the two, actually, no. We are in Washington, County Wall, to be exact, if you're from around the area. Now, the first mistake that we talked about was that the length was just a little bit too short and actually adding a little bit too much width to Bonnie's face. So if we actually add a little bit more length, this is what that would look like. Now, there's something important to notice here. It is adding a little bit more elongation to our face and taking out some of that fullness, but it's not quite there yet. We need to get a little bit more volume in a couple different areas, and we're definitely going to talk more about that in mistake number 3 so you can see what that would look like, but there is a little bit that needs to be worked on. Now, one other thing to pay attention to is that this length is kind of specific. We have added length, but if we add too much length, which you can see in this photo right here, you notice that it actually just starts to draw her face out a bit. So it kind of works against us. So how much length we add is actually important. Okay, so mistake number 2 was that the back was just a little bit too long. And I feel like I talk about this every time I talk about a bob shape, but it is bringing the eye down and just kind of bringing the entire face and shape down. So what would it look like if we actually brought that length in the back up a little bit? Well, it would look like this. Now, as you can see here, bringing that angle just up a little bit to follow more of the actual bone structure is really helping to start lifting, is really helping to start to lift that length, that eye up. Yes, that is not lifted up. That was a whole nother something.
Can you do something with this?
Yeah. I don't think the line, anyway, so if we lift that up, that's what it will look like. Now you can see again, this is still a situation where it's better, but it's not quite there. So what do we need? Well, we need a little bit of volume in specific areas. So with all of that, let me show you what the volume is going to look like, and let's jump to mistake number 3. So what would happen if we did add a little bit more volume to Bonnie's shape as that length was a little bit longer? Well, if we added some volume, this is what that would look like. See, now it's not a ton of volume, but that's kind of the important thing. I say a lot of times that it's not massive changes that need to create massive changes. Sometimes it's small things that add up, and all of them collectively create a large impact. And so adding a little bit of length, adding a tiny bit of volume in the right areas, now we're starting to accentuate cheek structure, bone structure, and we're starting to actually still draw the face out a little bit so we don't add too much width. And from the profile, we see the same thing. We're starting to lift that eye up a little bit more. Now, some of you veterans out there might be saying, Justin, that was really aggressive. Justin, but if we added a little bit of volume, could we then not add a little bit of length too? Because that length before, when we added too much, you remember this? When we added too much length, it was drawing the face out. But now that volume is actually adding shape in the right areas. So couldn't we get it a little bit longer and have the volume? Does that allow us the freedom? What do you think, babe?
I think absolutely.
I would answer that first of all, well played. You've been paying attention. I want to slap myself right now. But the truth is, yes, it does allow us to add a little bit more of that length. If we look at the original too long version, for instance, without volume, it's very different than the longer version with volume. So it just goes to show that length doesn't necessarily inherently create or make a shape look good or bad on you. It's kind of what you do in the length, which I feel like I also have said 1,000,007 times, to be specific, 1,000,007, not 6. There was that other time that created this. Okay, so mistake 4 was about Bonnie's bangs and them just being a little bit too square and a little bit too closing for her. So if we actually opened up those bangs just a little bit more and kind of modified them into one of the options that she could wear, this is what that could look like. Now, this is a situation where the photoshopping doesn't really do it justice. This would actually look much better, if I'm honest, in real life. But the takeaway here is that allowing yourself to actually see some of Bonnie's forehead through her bangs helps to, one, offset some of that width that her bangs currently are adding, and gives it a little bit more of a soft overall look. Now, Bonnie does wear glasses, and this length would still technically work with glasses because it's going to kind of rest on the frame, which is really kind of hard to show you here, but you'll just kind of have to trust me on that. So bangs are definitely, like I said, an option, and there are other options for her. Having some softness to break up her forehead is a great idea. However, just opening them up a little bit more is going to take us in a much, in my opinion, a much more flattering and youthful appearance or direction. That's not going to sound
Watch
well.
it. Watch it.
Opening those up a little bit more is going to accentuate what we want to accentuate and not accentuate what we want to accentuate.
Just stop. Yeah.
It is always a fine line, but you get my point, right? Please? Do we? You know where I'm coming from. Okay, wow.
You look beautiful.
Should we move on to curveballs? Curveball! Okay, so before we dive into the curveballs, there was a couple of other things that Bonnie spoke about in her email that really kind of guided my decision when I started thinking about curveballs. One of those things is that she's had longer hair or down to her waist and or at around her collarbone or shoulder length forever, and she wanted a change. Now, the fact that the change led her to a bob length at the length that it is, that, and I don't know that this is true, but that led me to assume that that may be the potential shortest length that she would feel confident in. So I didn't want to show something way shorter than that because I feel like she already made such a massive change, she probably would have gone that direction if it was comfortable for her. So instead, I wanted to talk more about another part of her email, which was thinking that she should maybe go lighter. She mentioned that she just went a little bit darker, and last time her stylist only put in lowlights in her hair, and she was thinking maybe she should add some highlights back. And so I wanted to show you some options. I didn't want to take that off the table completely, but she did send me this one photo of her when she actually had lighter hair. And if you look at it, what I'm seeing here, or the concern that I'm seeing here, is that it tends to wash her face out just a little bit, and it actually, and this happens all the time when you lighten hair, it can have a tendency to make the hair look a little bit on the thinner side. Going darker actually helps hair to look a little bit more dense, but more importantly, on Bonnie's skin tone specifically, it actually brings a lot of richness to it. So I didn't want to take lightening the overall feel off the table, but I also wanted to address those concerns. So if we modified the color just a little bit, this is what that could look like. Now, if you see here, what we've done is we've darkened the color actually from her current color. So I actually went a shade or two darker with the base color, and that allowed me to put in highlights of a brighter color to give her an overall brighter feeling, but at the same time, still make her hair feel and look denser, as well as still give even more richness to her skin tone. And I don't think that's a bad move at all for her, if I'm completely honest. So what do you think?
I think that's great.
You haven't even seen it yet. Oh my God.
I don't know what my answer is supposed to be. Don't ask me questions if I'm not. I'm like, what am I supposed to say?
The answer would be, to be honest, and say, I haven't seen that
I
yet.
haven't seen that yet.
How would I know?
How would I know?
But honey, knowing your history,
But honey, knowing your history,
I'm sure it'll look amazing.
I'm sure to look okay.
Okay, so with that said, I always want to hear your opinion, probably more than hers. You guys are nicer. So let me know below, what would you do? Do you think that any of these are a good move? Do you agree, disagree? You know where I'm at? Throw the comments below. Really only if you agree, because the disagreements are mean. Not so much.
All the time at home.
I clearly hear it enough already, so if you agree, comment below. And otherwise, if you have not already and you're liking this series, do me a massive favor. Again, come on, hit the subscribe button. Don't miss out. I bring these videos out every Tuesday, and make sure you like this video because oddly enough, that actually makes a difference. You want to support me? Like the video. That's a big deal. All right? Okay, you guys have a fantastic day, and we will see you next Tuesday. Have a great one, folks. Take care now. I'm going to enjoy this. What about you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Let's do that. The sound of nature. Okay, what you guys don't know is this has been an audio nightmare to try to film. There's constantly trains going by, planes, boats, trains, planes. Isn't that a movie? Trains, planes, and automobiles. Planes, trains, and automobiles. That was a movie.
John Candy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aging ourselves. We're aging ourselves right now.
I don't. Have you seen me?
I'm older than you. I'm older than you.
Yeah, and you look 10 years younger. Not fair. Just saying, not fair.